before a piece of creative sees the day of light, it cannot be decided what kind of quality it is. That we need a more progressive conversation on volume of creative, that the industry needs to start not demonizing quantity. Quantity is gonna happen. There's a ton of quality being left every day because of unorganized people like myself that just let it go by, don't write it down, don't record it when they feel it.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So today let's learn from one of the best, Gary Vaynerchuk, and how to focus on quality and quantity. Mentor me, Gary. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, produce more content.
The first thing that everybody needs to really wrap their head around and understand about this era is how much attention is really being put here, and how much, if you're not winning on this device, how much vulnerability you have. Number 2, really understanding that we talk a lot about content, but nobody here, including me with a humongous team, and this is super important, this is really what I wanted to start this talk with because I think it will help people. Me, with a team of 20, putting out between 80 and 100 pieces of original content a day, am grossly underperforming in the amount of content I put out every day. Like, to really set the tone for everybody, the volume, the sheer volume of content needed for every individual or business in this room to be successful in a 2019 environment is staggering. And nobody's really making the financial or mental or emotional investment into that level of content. The amount of people that are super fine with putting out 1 or 2 pieces or 3 pieces a day on one platform are just leaving an enormous amount of opportunity on the table. And so for me, if there's anything that I can get through today, and there'll be plenty of things I'll try to get through, but the sheer amount of content needed to take full advantage of this land grab. But are you capable to create contextual creative at scale? That's the question. Can you produce 97 pieces of content for 97 different demographics and psychographics, and then run ads against them to compel them to buy your things? If I'm selling sneakers, which I do, there's gonna be a fundamental difference of the video or picture I'm gonna put in front of somebody who's 18, white male in New York City versus a 47-year-old Latino woman with 2 kids in Texas. The problem is, when auditing the 30 accounts that I looked at here and the hundreds of thousands I do a year, 99% of people make 1 to 5 pieces of content and run their ads and expect something to happen. It is fundamentally not contextual to the audience that they're trying to reach. Very simply put, everybody's running creative ads, media, marketing right now as if it was 1997 and the only options you had was the newspaper, the billboard, the radio, and the television. Meanwhile, we have Facebook and Instagram and influencers that allow us to go way more long tail. The problem is people haven't put in the time and effort to create the content that's contextual to the psychographics and demographics. So, and I'm going very nerdy because I'm fired up right now on this, I think that every person in here, regardless of what they're trying to do, whether they're trying to run for mayor, raise money for a charity, or sell their services, needs to have at least 13 to 30 core audiences that they produce content for every time. So literally every time you have something new going on, you have to create 30 variations where the copy, I mean, you could target people who are divorced. You can target people who have two kids. You can target who like the Patriots. You can do so much.
Rule number 2, increase the volume.
We need a more progressive conversation on volume of creative, that the industry needs to start not demonizing quantity.
Okay.
This notion that quality is given up when you do a quantity of creative is a huge misnomer, and something that I think would really benefit the industry and most of all the brands.
And how, in what way would it benefit?
Most brands can't make relevant creative because they're not making enough creative to hit the many different cohorts they need to be talking to. And so they end up making one vanilla piece of video. We are too infatuated with reach and not enough around relevance. And if you don't make 70, 400, 3,000 pieces of meaningful content, you can never create actual relevance.
Yeah, okay.
But if you go walk the streets right now, one of the worst words in the creative community is volume and quantity.
That's very true, yeah.
And that needs to be cut. We need to have a more thoughtful conversation around it.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, motivation, and self-love, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
I really think mindset is everything. And so you've got to really decide, are you going to be positive about things or negative about things? My ability to only be comfortable in massive chaos has been my biggest asset as an entrepreneur. Like, I would never take a note. Like, that scares the out of me what these three people are doing right now. In a success world, please understand that success is happiness, not net dollars in.
Rule number 3, beat your competition.
There's an enormous amount of passion I have for people to get excited about producing a lot more content. And when I mean a lot more, something that I got to say to a couple breakout sessions, one of the reasons I had my team do a fake takeover of my Twitter account the other day was I wanted to find a creative way to figure out if I could post 100 tweets a day. 100. And to be very honest with you, that was just a precursor to me to figure out if I can do 500 or 1,000. The sheer volume of content that I think will be the differentiator of the mature understanding of this social and digital web is going to be the differentiator. You're not going to be able to continue to just beat your competitors by knowing to run Facebook ads. People will catch up over the next 2 or 3 years. So I'm already starting with the thesis that's going to help you compete, which is your ability to somehow figure out how to make 500 or 1,000 pieces a month instead of 3. There's a lot of you on your first try on Facebook ads with 1 piece of content converted. It's that underpriced. It's that remarkable that you were able to win when you didn't know what the you were doing.
Rule number 4, focus on quality and quantity.
First of all, quality needs to be debated. Who gets to decide its quality? The creative director? The brand manager? Who? Before a piece of creative sees the day of light, it cannot be decided what kind of quality it is. We need to understand the agenda of the creative. And so for me, quantity is not debatable. I always tell my team, guys, gals, if you're going to deliver a piece of work 3 days late that a client was waiting for, that's not a debate. You are 3 days late. That is not subjective. That's black and white. Once you deliver that work, what she or he thinks of it is completely subjective. And we see a lot of perfection and a lot of politics and a lot of subjectivity, which is just hiding insecurity in this industry. And so I do not understand how people don't understand that we live in a world of 10 to 15 digital platforms that really control the attention graph of our society. And for us to not be telling stories that are relevant to the 12, 15, 35 different cohorts that we could be speaking to across these 5 to 15 platforms is leaving something on the table. And I think agencies and startups and organizations need to restructure to be able to be a quantity and quality player in today's world. But a traditional creative department of copywriters and art directors and senior creatives debating work and then pitching 2 ideas is not built for a 2019 internet world, which is why they push so hard against quantity and judge it as schizophrenia or not on brand, spray and pray, see what sticks. I see it as marketing for the sake of getting quant and qual feedback to do better marketing.
And rule number 5, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is rely on the power of quantity.
My entire thesis on creative is my thesis of what you should do. I think you should apply to 7,000 jobs.
Yeah.
I think you will get there quicker by applying contextually to 7,000 jobs than spending the time to think about which 5 places you should apply to.
Yeah.
I really think that.
Yep.
I really believe that. You know, it's It's interesting how it works. And there's a couple reasons. It's fun to like go back to back. I think one of the things that I think I do well that's really helped me is contextualize the moment. You know, I understand what's happening currently. I'm a complete creature of the market. You know, I really am, deeply. And I think right now, it's wild to me I genuinely believe that Google would offer you a job that like Stan's Pizza Shop wouldn't. Yeah. I think we're in this bizarro world where so much is happening that it's not the box that the three of us grew up in. Everything was so fucking rigid, right? Like, I really mean that. Like, I just, like, I'm completely convinced of that. Yeah. That there's so much progressive debate that literally right now at Amazon, they're like, we need more pastors from Canada. Yeah. Like, you know, that sounds ludicrous, but like, I literally believe that. You know, back to like emotional intelligence. Like, if you just think about like the conversations that we're having in this room, I think the thing that, you know, it's so funny, I keep bringing it up, because I really appreciated the compliment from AJ. It was a very structured conversation we were having around something I'm passionate about. Sometimes people put things into words. Tom Bellew, my superpower is not judging myself. I think what's making me resonate is I take something that's completely gray, right? But it's black and white to me. Like, all the answers were actually the answers, but they're not the ones that are obvious.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Gary on how to do both that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching the video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1, how can you produce more quantity this week for your channels? Number 2, how can you also increase the quality of your content? And number 3, what will you tell yourself when the voice inside your head says it can't be done?
Quantity is coming, my friends. Last year, 380 billion pictures were taken, and that is 10% of all the pictures taken ever. Think about that for a second. So quantity's coming, whether Scott or I or anybody else, and more importantly, who's the definer of quality? For example, I don't want any cat videos. I hate cats. That's right, you heard it. I dislike them, not into them, though the internet loves cats. And so we all have different views on what quality is, but that's not even the conversation. The conversation is this. I am devastated that so many of the things that I've wanted to communicate to my community or things that I wanted to interact with pass in my head and escape at the end of the day. I'm devastated that one of the people, by the way, here's a little side note, the conversation, if you go to Scott Monte's blog, which I'll link up right here, between me, CC Chapman, and Scott Monte shows the real power of Twitter, and really is a whole nother video in itself, which is we need to start respecting and communicating with each other instead of just flaming it out. I mean, the conversation there really recaps why I think Twitter is incredible. But being a little less ADD, jumping back into my point, why not both? Quality and quantity. Nobody would complain if Michael Jordan, I hate him with all my heart, nobody would have complained if he played another couple seasons in his prime. Nobody would have complained if the Beatles put out a couple more albums. I think there's a really healthy debate of why not both? Quality and quantity. The quantity is going to happen, but there's a ton of quality being left every day because of unorganized people like myself that just let it go by, don't write it down, don't record it when they feel it. And I have putting infrastructure around those kind of organizations and people is going to be an interesting debate, and I do think that that's what's going to happen. And so I'd love to see your thoughts on this. I think it's a really interesting time for content. There definitely is way too much crap, but I do think that a lot of people are leaving greatness on the table. Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for 20 bucks a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, or 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like Gary Vee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
If you want to learn how to market on social media like Gary Vee, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.